Imagine walking into a gallery filled with bold colors, unexpected shapes, and paintings that seem to whisper, "Look closer." At first, you might tilt your head, laugh, or even think, "What on earth is this supposed to mean?" But here's the truth. Modern art isn't just about the canvas, it's about what it awakens inside you. It has the power to stretch your mind, spark your curiosity, remind you that growth doesn't stop with age. It expands with it. Today, let's take a journey into 4 powerful ways modern art can uniquely stimulate and enhance your brain. Before we begin, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any video. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to slip into the same routines every single day? We wake up, read the same newspaper, watch the same programs, talk to the same circle of people, and walk down the same streets. Life becomes familiar, predictable, even comfortable. But comfort, while pleasant, quietly dull the spark of curiosity inside us. And here's the truth: curiosity is what keeps the mind alive, vibrant, and growing at any age. Modern art has this incredible way of reawakening that curiosity. It shakes us gently by the shoulders and whispers, "Look again." What do you see? When you stand in front of a piece of modern art, whether it's a canvas filled with bold colors or a sculpture made from unexpected materials, you can't help but wonder, what does this mean? Why did the artist choose this shape, this color, this form? Unlike traditional art, which often depicts something recognizable, modern art invites you to interpret it for yourself. And in that very act of wondering, of questioning, of searching for meaning, your brain begins to stretch. You start exploring not just the painting, but your own thoughts, your own imagination, your own stories. I remember meeting a woman in her 70s at a local gallery. She stood in front of a massive painting splashed with blue, red, and yellow. To me, it looked like chaos. But she tilted her head and said, "This feels like my childhood summers. The red is my mother's kitchen table. The blue is the lake we swam in. The yellow is the laughter of my sisters." In that moment, she wasn't just looking at art. She was reawakening memories, asking questions, and engaging her mind in a way that made her eyes sparkle. That is the gift of curiosity. It takes something abstract and turns it into a personal discovery. So, how can you bring that same sense of curiosity into your own life through modern art? Start small. The next time you come across a piece of modern art, whether in a museum, a magazine, or even online, pause and ask yourself 2 simple questions. What does this remind me of? And how does it make me feel? There are no wrong answers. The beauty of modern art is that it doesn't demand expertise, it invites your perspective. Another way to spark curiosity is to make it social. Visit a gallery with a friend or family member and compare interpretations. You might see strength in a bold brushstroke while your friend sees sadness. Those differences don't divide you. They create conversation, laughter, new ways of looking at the world. Try it once, and you'll see how quickly your mind lights up when curiosity is shared. Here's a simple practice you can do at home. Choose one piece of modern art, maybe a postcard, a print, or even something from the internet, and place it where you can see it often. Each time you glance at it, let your mind wander. What do you notice today that you didn't yesterday? What new story can you imagine from it? You'll be surprised how the same image can open doors to fresh ideas day after day. So, let me ask you, when was the last time you allowed yourself to be surprised, to look at something ordinary, or even confusing, and say, "I wonder"? That spark of curiosity is not reserved for the young, it's the secret fuel that keeps the mind ageless. Modern art is simply the key that unlocks it. At its heart, curiosity is a reminder that life still has mysteries waiting for you. It tells you that no matter your age, there are always new connections to make, perspectives to discover, and new questions to ask. So the next time you encounter a splash of color or a shape you can't quite define, don't dismiss it. Lean in, let it awaken that inner explorer. Because every time you ask, "What does this mean for me?" you're proving that your mind is still alive with possibility. That is the true power of curiosity. It keeps your story unfolding, page by page, brushstroke by brushstroke. Have you ever walked into a room, forgotten why you went there, and laughed at yourself? We all have. Memory lapses are part of life, but as we grow older, they sometimes become more frequent. That can be frustrating. Here's the exciting part. Though your brain can still be trained, exercised, and strengthened, one of the most surprising tools to help with that is modern art. Yes, those bold paintings, abstract sculptures, curious installations aren't just interesting to look at. They're workouts for your mind, especially when it comes to memory and flexibility of thought. Think about what happens when you stand in front of a modern painting. Your brain immediately starts sorting through colors, shapes, and patterns, asking, what does this remind me of? Where have I seen something like this before? That mental effort pulls on your memory, encouraging you to retrieve past experiences, emotions, and associations. At the same time, because the artwork doesn't usually present one clear meaning, your brain has to adapt, shift, consider multiple perspectives. That's cognitive flexibility, your ability to see things from different angles, to adjust to stay mentally agile. Just like muscles in your body, the more you use these skills, the stronger they become. I once met a retired teacher who took up visiting a modern art gallery every Saturday. At first, she said she didn't understand any of it, but she began to notice something fascinating. When she looked at an abstract piece, she would recall lessons she taught decades earlier, students she once knew, or books she had read. The art triggered her memories in surprising ways. Over time, she found herself remembering small details more easily. Not because she was forcing her memory, but because her brain was actively connecting the past with the present. When she discussed the artwork with others, she discovered she could shift her perspective more quickly, even in everyday life. For her, art wasn't just decoration. It became brain training. So how can you bring that same benefit into your own routine? First, practice active observation. Just glance at a piece of art, study it. Pick out one small detail, like the curve of a line or the shade of a color, and focus on it. Then ask yourself, what memory does this stir in me? This strengthens your recall by making you dig deeper into your mental archives. Second, challenge yourself to come up with more than one interpretation of what you see. For example, a painting might look like stormy skies to you at first, but take a step back and ask, what else could this be? Maybe it's the restless ocean, or maybe it's the energy of a crowd. By training yourself to consider multiple answers, you stretch your flexibility, your ability to adapt and reframe situations in daily life. And third, try discussing art with someone else. You may see a sculpture as hopeful, while your friend finds it unsettling. Talking through those differences forces your brain to shift gears, compare perspectives, and adapt. That simple act is like mental gymnastics. It's far more enjoyable than sitting alone with a crossword puzzle. So let me ask you, if something as simple as looking at art can help you remember more vividly and think more flexibly, isn't it worth giving it a chance? You don't need to be an art expert, and you certainly don't need to understand everything you see. What matters is engaging with it, letting it stretch your memory and your imagination at the same time. Modern art may look unusual on the surface, but beneath it lies a hidden gift, a way to keep your mind sharp, nimble, and alive. Every time you interact with it, you're proving that your brain is capable of learning, growing, and adapting at any age. And that is the real masterpiece. Not the painting on the wall, but the resilience and brilliance of your own mind. Have you ever had a moment when you felt so much inside? Joy, sadness, even frustration, but couldn't quite find the words to explain it. We've all been there. Emotions can be complex, layered, and sometimes overwhelming. That's why one of the most powerful gifts modern art offers us is a safe and open space to express those emotions. It doesn't demand perfect language or polished explanations. Instead, it gives you permission to feel, to project, to release what's inside in a way that words alone often can't capture. When you stand in front of a piece of modern art, an abstract swirl of colors, a sculpture made of unexpected objects, or a painting that seems more like chaos than order, you might notice something interesting happening. Suddenly, you see parts of your own story in the shapes and patterns. The bold strokes may remind you of struggles you've overcome, while the soft colors might bring up memories of peace or love. The art becomes a mirror, reflecting not just what the artist created, but also what you're carrying inside. And in that moment, you're not just looking at art. You're connecting with yourself in a deeper way. I recall a senior gentleman at a community art event who shared how a particular painting, a dark canvas with streaks of red cutting through, stirred something unexpected in him. He said it felt like looking at the years he spent working long hours, always pushing through stress. For the first time, he admitted those years had left him feeling angry and unappreciated. The painting didn't erase his feelings, but it gave him a way to name them, to release them, and even to start talking about them. That's the incredible power of emotional expression through art. It validates what we feel, even when words fail us. So, how can you use modern art as a tool to express your own emotions? First, allow yourself to respond honestly to what you see. If a piece makes you feel calm, lean into that calm. If it stirs up sadness, don't push it away. Acknowledge it. Sometimes just naming your emotional response. This makes me feel hopeful, or this reminds me of loss, is enough to lighten the weight of carrying it alone. Second, try journaling after engaging with a piece of art. Write down the emotions it stirred and any memories that came with them. You don't have to be a writer. These notes are for you, a private way of connecting your inner world to something external. Over time, begin to notice patterns and gain clarity about your own emotional journey. Third, make art interactive. Discuss it with a friend or loved one. You may discover that while you saw grief in a painting, they saw resilience. These conversations not only help you express your emotions, but also expand your perspective, showing you that there are many ways to interpret the same experience. Isn't that true for life itself? Think about it. How often do we keep emotions bottled up, afraid to let them out? And yet, what if the very act of looking at a painting or sculpture could become a release valve, helping you process those emotions and even find healing in them? Modern art doesn't judge. It doesn't tell you what you should feel. It simply opens a door for whatever is inside you to come through. At the end of the day, emotional expression is about freedom. The freedom to acknowledge who you are and what you've lived through. Modern art is an ally in that process. It encourages you to let your emotions breathe, to find meaning in them, and to transform them into something that empowers you. So the next time a piece of art stirs something inside, don't dismiss it. Let it speak for you. Because in that moment, not just experiencing art, you're honoring your own humanity, and that is a masterpiece in itself. Have you ever noticed how quickly a conversation begins when two people are looking at the same painting? One person says, "I see a sunrise," while the other laughs and replies, "Really? I thought it looked like spaghetti on a plate." In that moment, strangers become companions, and a simple piece of art becomes the bridge that connects them. Modern art, with all its unpredictability and freedom, has a special power. It brings people together, sparking conversations, laughter, and bonds that might never have formed otherwise. Modern art doesn't come with instructions. It doesn't tell you, "This is a landscape," or "This is a portrait." Instead, it opens the door to interpretation. And because no two people see it the same way, it naturally creates dialogue. When you talk about what you see, and then hear what someone else sees, sharing more than just opinions. You're sharing pieces of yourself. That exchange builds connection, and over time, those connections grow into community. Once attended a small exhibit at a local cultural center where a group of seniors gathered to explore abstract paintings. At first, everyone stood quietly, unsure of what to make of the bold shapes and unusual colors. Then one woman broke the silence. "This one reminds me of my first trip abroad. It feels chaotic but exciting." Another man nodded, adding, "I see chaos too. But for me it feels like the move I made after retirement, uncertain but full of possibility." Suddenly, the room came alive. People who had never met were sharing stories, finding common ground, and laughing together. By the end of the afternoon, They weren't just looking at paintings, they were building friendships. That is the magic modern art can create. So how can you use modern art as a tool to connect with others in your own life? One way is to visit a gallery with a friend or loved one and make it interactive. Instead of silently walking through, stop at each piece and ask, "What do you see?" You'll be amazed at how different the answers can be, and how those differences lead to richer conversations. Another step you can take is to create a small art circle at home or in your community. Choose a few pieces of modern art, postcards, prints, or even online images and gather with others to talk about them. You don't need any background in art. In fact, the less formal it feels, the better. The goal isn't to analyze, it's to share perspectives and enjoy the exchange. And here's a simple practice. When you see a piece of art online, send it to a friend with a question. "What do you think this is about?" It may spark a playful back and forth or even a meaningful discussion. In a world where conversations often revolve around the weather or daily routines, art can open doors to deeper, more memorable exchanges. Ask yourself this: how often do we long for meaningful connection, but don't know how to begin? Modern art gives us that opening. It doesn't matter if you're an expert or a beginner. If you love it or if it confuses you, what matters is that it brings people into the same space, physical or virtual, and invites them to share, to listen, and to laugh. At its heart, modern art reminds us that life isn't meant to be lived in isolation. We thrive when we connect, when we find community, when we discover that our stories, though different, often overlap in surprising ways. So the next time you see a bold painting or an unusual sculpture, don't just look at it quietly. Turn to the person next to you and ask, "What do you see?" That one simple question could be the start of a friendship, a community, or even a whole new sense of belonging. Because when art brings us together, it's no longer just a painting on a wall. It's a living bridge between hearts. So, seniors, this is your brain on modern art: curious, flexible, expressive, and deeply connected. Every brushstroke, every sculpture, every abstract splash is an invitation to keep growing, to keep feeling, and to keep engaging with the world in fresh, exciting ways. The canvas of life isn't finished yet, and with modern art, you have endless colors left to paint with. Step into it boldly. The gallery is wide open. Your mind is ready to be inspired. Thank you